Growing peas from seed to harvest. Peas are best grown with the direct sow method. This means you're going to start with a seed and sow it into the dirt where you plan on growing your mature plant. That way you don't disrupt the plant's growth and it can establish itself and produce a pea pod for you immediately. You will find that some varieties of peas benefit from a pre-soaking before you plant them. If they have a really hard outer shell, you want to soak them in water for 12 hours prior to planting. There are two things that you want to take into consideration to make sure that your pea crop grows successfully. The first thing is where you're going to plant it and the soil type. So you want to make sure that your soil is enriched and well draining. Peas enjoy lots of water, but they need that water to drain away quickly to avoid getting rot. The second thing you want to consider is the amount of sunlight. Peas enjoy full sun conditions. Unfortunately, our crop right here is in a slightly shady area, so you'll notice they haven't gotten very tall, but that's okay because they're producing for us lovely. The reason this being that we selected this particular area for our pea crop is that we practice crop rotation. In our raised garden beds here, we have 3 areas where we plant vining habitat plants. So it was the peas' turn for the shaded area, and they're doing fine for us, but if we had them in one of the more sunnier locations, they would be growing even more vivaciously. Here in Florida, we have 2 seasons in which we can successfully grow peas. The first one is early spring, just after the frost has gone away, where the ground temperatures have reached at least 45 degrees Fahrenheit or 7.2 degrees Celsius. Our second season for growing peas is in the fall, and this may be more universal to where your location is. The thing you want to keep in mind when planting your fall crop of peas is you want at least 2 full months before your first frost, so that way your plants can grow, mature, and you can get a good harvest in before the frost may kill them out. A note about peas and frost. A light frost actually isn't going to harm your pea crop. In fact, it may increase the sweetness of your peas. Peas are a cold-loving crop, so whenever you plant them, once the temperatures reach 80 degrees Fahrenheit or 26.6 degrees Celsius, your season is probably over. Our particular crop this year are sugar and snap peas. We purchased these from Growing Crazy Acres Heirloom Seeds. I'll have a link to them in the description below. These are ready in 56 days, and as you can see, we have plenty of pods on our plants ready to harvest. You can tell that your pea pods are ready to harvest once they've reached 3 inches in length, and you want to harvest them right away. And they're really easy. You just support the plant, pinch, and twist it right off. Now, if you harvest them as soon as they're ready, you're going to encourage your plant to produce more peas for you, and these immediately ready peas are going to be much sweeter than if you leave them on the vine for an extended period of time. If you do happen to forget to harvest your peas right away, and they do stay on the vine a little too long, you may notice that the outside shell will be too tough and starchy to eat on its own. In that case, you will have to shell them. However, if you do harvest them right away, you can eat the whole thing. You can eat these peas raw, lightly steamed, or stir-fried. Another great tip for peas is that they're super easy to freeze. So if you have a small grouping of plants and you want to collect peas over the growing season, just harvest your peas, pop them in a bag, and stick them in the freezer. That's all you need to do. So each time you harvest, you can add to your bag, and soon you will have plenty for a full meal. So if you notice the spacing here on our pea plants, these have been placed 2 inches apart, and that was the recommendation on the packet because that way they can help support each other and won't need the trellis. But because I did plant them with a trellis for support, I encourage them to grow up the trellis, as you can see here. The optimal spacing for pea plants is 5 inches apart, and that way you have plenty of ventilation for your pea plants to thrive. Now, let's troubleshoot the peas. One of the things that you may find that may affect your peas is aphids. Nobody likes aphids, but they're really easy to take care of. And in the case of peas, all you need is to treat them with insecticidal soap and your problem will soon be gone. Another issue with peas is powdery mildew. And the way to deal with that is to water them early in the morning so that way they're perfectly dry come evening, or do as we do and use drip line irrigation so that the water stays on the ground and off your plant. Now, as we said before, our variety today is the Sugar Ann snap pea, and we selected this because Sugar Ann is disease resistant. Another thing that I mentioned was about the well draining soil. If you make sure to add to your soil something like perlite, which is going to help with drainage, you will cut out many of the diseases that are going to affect your peas in the first place. Besides these delicious peas in the pod, the flowers and the new leafy growth are both edible. A word about companion planting. As many of you know, I am a big fan about companion planting. Selecting your companion plants for peas, you want to select plants that share similar needs or that will benefit the pea plant itself. Companions for peas include beans, carrots, celery, corn, cucumbers, eggplant, peppers, radishes, spinach, tomatoes, and turnips. One thing you do want to realize is there are some plants to avoid planting near your pea plants as they may stunt their growth. These are onions, garlic, leeks, shallots, scallions, and chives. I know peas can be a bit confusing because there's many different varieties and many different terms used with peas. There's sugar peas, sugar snap peas, all these different names. But the one thing you want to take in consideration is that the sweet pea is not an actual pea. It is a vine that is grown for its ornamental flowers. And that is not edible. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and look up, there might be another one that you'll enjoy equally as well.